Do we want to dive into the demo?
Let's do it.
We should.
Prior to joining a Salesforce admin for quite some time, about 7 years, and all of my problems started like this. So I'm using Aviv as my scapegoat here, but it always started with a text or a Slack or an email that something weird is happening in Salesforce and they don't know why. And usually what would happen is I would take a ton of time diagnosing what is this problem, what's going on, and then a little bit of time implementing a solution. So here I've got that exact same example. So Aviv reached out to me. He's got a bunch of ops that have the proposal sent date filled in, but he hasn't sent the proposal. And Aviv was really nice to me, and he included a report of, all of the times that happened instead of me having to ask him to give that. So I'm just opening up this Salesforce report. So I have all of these opportunities. You can see that they have a proposal sent date, all of which are pretty recent, but the proposals haven't been sent yet. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. And my workflow is I'm going to open up the Salesforce setup. Maybe I have a good idea. Maybe I know this org really, really well. I'm the only person developing in it. And I know there's an automation here that might be touching this. But if I'm working in a larger org, I'm working with other people, I kind of have to sift through a bunch of information to find where is the automation that's likely automation that's causing this issue. Now, if I'm using Sweep, it's a little bit different. So I can open up Sweep and accomplish the same thing. So I'm going to log in here to what we call our canvas. So this is a visual workspace for Salesforce diagnostics and productivity. So right now, what I'm looking at is everything that exists in my Salesforce represented in this visual manner. So what I'm going to do to figure out what's going wrong is I'm going to start with our documentation feature, and I'm going to go look for the proposal sent date field that we spoke about. And within the proposal sent date field, I can drill in and I can see any automations that are using this field. So I have a flow called the quoting flow that's referencing this proposal sent date field. I can drill into that flow, and first of all, I have an AI generated description describing what this flow does, but I also have a chat bot here at the bottom where I can ask super specific questions. So I can say, what does this flow do with the proposal sent date field? Now, the AI is reading all of my metadata and it's returning an answer. So this flow, the quoting flow, updates the proposal sent date field in the opportunity object. It assigns the current date to the variable proposal date, and then it's going to update that field, right? So I see here, okay, so I have this flow that anytime I'm entering this proposal stage, it's updating the proposal sent date field to today's date. Now that used to make sense for the way my org works, but things have changed. So now we actually move the stage to proposal before we send proposals. And it looks like I forgot to update this flow. I didn't think about the fact that this flow was happening. And now I have some inaccurate data in my org that needs to get cleaned up. And so pretty simple, I can go ahead and make that change, but I don't know what other impacts will occur if I just, turn off this flow or deactivate a node. So I'm going to say, what else does this flow do? And it's going to give me a longer explanation of other things that occur in this flow. Now, this is a pretty basic flow. Just I'm using it for illustrative purposes, but you can see that it's also setting the close date to be 7 days from today and sending an email alert. And so those are three things that are going on in this flow. For me, I only have the close date. It's working exactly how I want it to. The email alert, that's working exactly how I want it to. So the only problematic piece of this flow for me is the proposal sent date. And I know that if I turn off the proposal sent date automation here, it's not going to cause me issues anywhere else in my org. So I have two options now. The first one is the old school way, using Salesforce. I can open this up in Salesforce. It'll open the specific flow and I can turn off this node. Alternatively, I could use Sweep to recreate this automation, and I can deactivate the flow as a whole. So you can use either. I want to illustrate what it would be like to build in Sweep. So I'm gonna take that step. So in order to create this automation, what I can say is I can click on proposal and I can click automations and I can click create automation. And so it's saying when I'm entering proposal, I want to do a few things. So now I do not want to update the proposal sent date. The only things that I want to do is I want to update the record's close date. So I'm going to click update this record, close date. And you can see here that everything that I'm doing is sort of in plain English. So I want this close date to be 7 days after I trigger this automation. So 7 days after I enter proposal. And I also want to send an email alert. So send an email. I'm going to say opportunity ending proposal. And I want this to go to the owner's manager. So I'm going to go to the owner ID, drill down, go to manager ID, drill down, and grab their email address. And I can name this automation, click create, and I'm done. So that's one way that we use Sweep to sort of jump in, understand what's going on, diagnose the problems, which are really about 90% of the work, and then go ahead and implement quick solutions. I also wanted to show sort of what the flow would be like if I were to build something from scratch in Sweep. So I'm just going to create an inbound lead funnel. I'm going to call it Benjamin's inbound leads. And what this will do is it will create a record type and a lead process. And here I'm going to be customizing pick list values for the lead status. That's what the screen is telling me here. I can drop it anywhere on my canvas. I'm going to drop it right here right now. And I'm just going to create a few statuses. So I've got new, outreach, connected, demos scheduled. And I just want to show you how comprehensive we can get with the Sweep platform and what we're able to build in. So first of all, this is going to be a converted step so that when I convert my leads, this will be like the quote unquote converted status. I could also add like validation. So I can say, hey, I can't move the lead status to outreach without sending any outbound emails. So I have a field called activity count, which is a roll-up field. The roll-up was also created with Sweep. And I can say that the activity count has to be greater than 0 in order to advance. And if I want to get really fancy, I can say when the activity count is greater than 0 and the activity count has increased, then I want to auto advance the next stage. Also, I want to make sure that when my leads are created, they get assigned appropriately. So here I can set up assignment rules. So I can set up a rule for my enterprise BDRs and for my SMB BDRs. So I'll say enterprise BDRs. And I'll just go with a simplistic example, but I can say, hey, if employees is greater than 1,000, so when a lead is created and employees is greater than 1,000, then I want to round robin it to the assignment group. So these assignment groups are created and managed within Sweep. And I could also choose to notify the owner via Slack, email, but right now I'm just going to click do not notify. And then I'll create a second rule. Same idea, but for my SMB BDRs, and say, let's make sure that employees is less than 1,000, and also that it's greater than 0. So if it's blank, it doesn't assign. And I want to make sure that that assigns to my SMB group. And I do not want to notify. And I can create the rule. And then lastly, another thing that we can do, I know I already showed automations, but I'm going to layer in more automations. So the first one is if I enter connected without a lead source. So if I enter connected, and here I can add like further conditions. So I can say that the lead source is empty. Again, this like plain English builder, making it super easy to communicate outwards to the org what's going on. I can post to Slack. I can say the lead source, there's a typo there, is blank, and I can embed the name of the lead in here. So I can say full name from company. Please fill it out, which is great. But what I could also do is I can add a button here that says update lead source, and I can add a lead source field. So what this is going to do is whenever these criteria are met, it's going to push a Slack message to the recipient, which I didn't set here. So here I'm going to set it to the lead owner. It's going to push a Slack alert with a button. They'll click the button and they'll be able to, from within Slack, update Salesforce and without having to leave their Slack window.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
it's very, very convenient.
It's very convenient. It's streamlining the workflow for people and very much in line with how we think, right? We want things to be like I've said before. This is an easy process for me to set up. It's also an easy process for the user. And in that same vein, I'm going to create one more automation. I know, I hope I'm not overdoing it here.
No,
I
it's
can
very
say,
helpful.
so when I enter this demo scheduled phase, I want to convert the lead. I can say, I want to use an existing account. And so any lead that's converted, I want it to go to this matched account. So this matched account is created by Sweep using our lead to account matching algorithm. And we can say if there's no matched account, then I want to create the account with the record type of mid-market. I can set any fields here that aren't set in my lead conversion mapping within Salesforce. And I can optionally set settings for the contact, whether or not I want to create an opportunity, et cetera. And I can say auto convert lead. All that's left, I click deploy. I choose what I'm deploying here. So here I was just playing with this inbound leads funnel, and I can choose which org I want to send it to. Do I want to send it to a sandbox? Do I want to send it to production? I can preview the changes that were made. So here I'm creating something new. So everything is kind of showing up here, and then I can click deploy. But I think that is a pretty comprehensive overview of some of the, I wouldn't call it comprehensive. It's just some of the things that Sweep can do.
It took us 10 minutes, to really see all of that. And I can see a lot of value already, right, for teams. You showed how this is working for different groups, how they can benefit and how quickly they can really see what is going on. You essentially enabling Salesforce for the users, right? I feel like what we just saw right now is, on the one hand, it's automation, all of this, but in fact, you are bringing more users to Salesforce because of that simplicity that you offer with your product, right? So let's say I have an SDR leader and we talked about how to automate or create some flows. Hey, you know what? Here we go. And somebody can go through this as a no Salesforce admin person, right? I don't have to be certified. I can just go over all these steps and I can understand what's going on and what it does. That's extremely powerful, in my opinion. This is where you're bringing all these teams on the same page and you say, this is how it works, right? Don't call me 10 times. Don't ask me to pull something, pull reports, show you that this is working and it's not working. I mean, here you go. This is a black and white proof for you that this is how it's working. Is it fair to say all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So collaboration is something that we very much have in mind with how Sweep was built. Some things I didn't show, we have like a commenting feature. So we can invite people into Sweep who we don't want to be able to make any changes to configuration, but we do want them to be able to see what's going on.